what's the absolutely coolest thing you're working on now?
Of all the things we can't talk about.
Yeah, right. Yeah, of all the things.
Well, I think one of the coolest things is one of the things that you and I are working on together.
Yes.
We're really frank with you.
Yeah.
Some of you may have been reading in the news over the last week. There's been a bit of a change in leadership at Ford Motor Company, and both Roger and I are working with Jim Hackett, and have been for quite some while, in his role as head of Ford Smart Mobility.
Yep.
And I think figuring out how mobility in cities is going to work in the future is one of the most interesting problems to work on today, because it really is asking a lot of questions about the role of new technology. It's asking a lot of questions about what shifts we want in terms of our own societal behavior, to be honest with you. I mean, how do we want to treat our streets?
Yep.
What do we want to use our streets for? How much of our streets do we want to dedicate to private vehicles versus other forms of transport? How many of those acres of parking lots do we want to take away and replace with parks or with other facilities or buildings instead of parking lots? I mean, there are a lot of really interesting questions in the kind of mobility, the whole mobility space that I think are fascinating, and I know you've been working a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for me, it's lots of fun because it is the intersection of strategy and a lot of sort of public civic policy questions, because somebody's got to invest in doing that, and so figuring out the classic where to play, how to win questions for the companies that are playing in the space is interesting, and also figuring out, Ford essentially has spent its lifetime selling hunks of metal to individuals, not so much to things like municipalities and the like, and so figuring out how do you take your knowledge of transportation and sell it in a productive way to somebody else, while everybody's trying to figure out the city of the future and the smart mobility of the future. Plus, it's sort of fun because all of these cities, there's kind of no way out. Like Toronto, there's no way out.
There's no way in half the time.
Yeah, no way in. There's no way in. There's no way. There's no escaping the fact there are more people and not more land, and so we've got to figure out how to be a whole lot smarter.
How does that overlap with what you're doing at MPI?
Well, at MPI, we're working a lot on sort of the infrastructure that underpins democratic capitalism, right? All the stuff that works on in the economy works over top of an infrastructure that we often take for granted. There's physical infrastructure like that. There's kind of regulatory infrastructure. There's knowledge infrastructure, and so I think it's very interesting. And in fact, my friend and colleague Richard Florida was in the office yesterday, and I wandered in to see him, and he's like, Roger, have you seen what's that interesting stuff that's going on at Ford? They've got this new CEO, and I said, well, yeah, sort of. I kind of know a little bit about that. But he was like, this is, they're doing the coolest stuff, and because he's totally into cities and their infrastructure, and so now I've got to go introduce him to Jim, because he's so interested in what cities are doing.